Welcome everyone, Marcelo is my name. I'm the niche fragrance collector and I love perfumery. I almost sung that part, but I do. I love perfumery, I love perfume. I love smelling. I actually love the pleasure, the joy that smelling beautiful things provides. There's an awesome myth. The Greeks was Aphrodite, and for the Romans it was Venus. The story is very similar, and the essence is that Venus, or Aphrodite, was actually running to the aid of her lover, which is Adonis. And in the process, well, the Roman is that she cut herself against the thorn, and from her blood landed on the thorn, and out came the rose. The Greek mythology is that Adonis and Aphrodite, that their body fluids mixed together. I think it was his sweat, her blood, one of those two, and the two combined, and the rose was born. Rose has always been connected to beauty, to love, to romance. It's also been connected to wealth. So to have rose, an abundance of rose, like Nero, he was one of the Roman emperors, and one of the things that he would do is he would just rose petals everywhere. I mean, it was basically to say, how cool am I? And his feasts would have rose petals everywhere. I mean, look at this image. This is a fantastic painting of this sort of concept. Actually, the story even goes that somewhere that some patrons sometimes would die from inhaling too many because the rose petals would fall from the ceiling. Crazy. Anyway, he had a lot of money, but he was also crazy. So with all that history and gloriousness connected to rose, why are men so reluctant to wear a rose perfume? So gents, I guess the question that you're asking is, why would you want to wear a floral fragrance? As you're watching this particular episode, you're going, nice argument, Marcelo, or nice, you're presenting some interesting points, but I'm a mossy wood kind of guy. I like my leathers. I like the more sort of notes in there. Women love flowers, and to have a beautiful floral fragrance, I think it complements, as a man, I think it complements you really, really well. The other day I went to a formal event. The moment I sat down, the sillage popped on me, or is it sillage or is it just projection? I'm not sure, but anyway, the scent of me, of Marcelo, popped out, and the lady next to me quickly said, oh, I love your perfume. It's a sophisticated, refined fragrance for a man. Rose has been around for, I mean, Cleopatra used it. So I was going to say thousands of years. So Cleopatra used it. There's a great story of she soaked her sails from her sailboat in rose oil so that when she came down the Nile and Mark Antony smelt it, he would basically fall in love. I mean, that's going to work for anybody. So rose has been around for thousands of years, and as a result, a lot of female fragrances have rose in their construct. And so I guess as men, we've looked at that and thought, it's a, you know, and also our brains think male fragrances, female fragrances, and because a lot of female fragrances have a lot of rose notes in them, we go, that's for girls, not for boys, not for me. But when you really break down what are the nuances of rose, there's no reason that a man can't be wearing a beautiful rose fragrance, especially when it's not accentuated or accented with a lot of other florals. If we just respect that beautiful nuance of that rose note, it can work really, really well on a man. And I'm going to talk about, obviously, radical rose today. Some of the nuances of the rose, other than it's rose. So when you smell rose, you know that it's a rose. But it has, when you start to break it down, there are musky components to a rose. It has a woody element to it also. It does have a spiciness. There is an inbuilt sweetness to the rose scent. Matiere Premiere is the name of the house. Aurelien Guichard is the perfumer, and he is like, I think, third generation perfumer. His grandfather set himself up in Grasse years ago and was a farmer for, I think it was jasmine. Now, Aurelien has, he's followed in his grandfather's footsteps. Actually, his father, Aurelien's father, is also a perfumer. He's grown up with this. This is part of him, both the farming component, the actual cultivation of the raw essence, and also the actual construct, the perfumery, the creation of a perfume. So he has these two elements, and he's blended them together in Matiere Premiere. What does it mean? It means raw material. I was fortunate to be in a masterclass with Aurelien Guichard, and from his own words, and this really stood out, when he said this, I remember writing this down furiously. So four key points that he addressed. One is that Each of his perfumes has one central natural ingredient that he then works around. 2, the formulas are short. They're not complicated with all these other different ingredients. The dosage is maximized. That central ingredient, there's an overdose of it, but yet it has volume without being overwhelming. All 4 of those components all exist within Radical Rose. Gentlemen, I was going to say boys, but men, gentlemen, boys, I want you to put aside any reservations or fears that Rose is not a perfume that you should have in your collection. I want to challenge that, and I want you to go out and check out Radical Rose. If you don't have a beautiful floral fragrance in your collection, commence with this one here. This is wonderfully accented with so many different facets to it that on a man it works beautifully. Ladies, this will work regardless. You have been familiar with the rose note for a very long time. And so if you like your florals as a woman, if you like your florals in your fragrance, I would really, the Radical Rose is something to be experienced. Kill the suspense, it's a rose fragrance, but it has so many different facets to this rose fragrance. There is a saffron note on the opening, and that saffron is giving it an equal part spice, but with a slight leather. So saffron can give like a slight leathery tone. It also has a pink pepper, and that pink pepper gives it this, well, it's supported with the saffron, it gives it this spiciness. And if anything, it supports that core structure of that Centifolia rose. To categorize it quickly, it's an ambery floral fragrance. It retains a certain level of warmth. As the fragrance dries down, it does go into a woodier place. I know that it's also supported with patchouli and labdanum. Both of those ingredients are giving it that I guess, that woody, ambery warmth down in the base. But from the beginning all the way through, there is a honey, berry-like sweetness to it. And it stays, you can feel it, smell it on that opening. But even all the way through that, there is a sweetness. And it's not a gourmand sweetness. So it's not a caramel or a vanilla or anything of that nature. And it's not a fruity sweetness either. So it doesn't go into any sort of, high fruits or anything. It's actually, I think honey is the best thing, because honey has almost an animalic quality to it. Radical Rose is a nice balance between those beautiful rose floral notes that it has, equally balanced with a nice woody base, that leathery saffron spicy tone at the beginning, the sweetness that stays within the fragrance, the honey-like component to it. I think the balance in there is perfect between being a nice floral, but it also leans a little bit to the masculine. For those men who are still sort of on the borderline whether they want to test out a floral fragrance, then again, as I mentioned earlier, I would recommend to you Radical Rose. When I wear this, my wife is instantly drawn to the scent. No matter where I am in the house, she'll respond with, I love that fragrance. She knows what it is. She doesn't even say, I love the perfume you're wearing today, or nice perfume. I love that fragrance. I find that the sillage on this is extraordinary. It has such a beautiful push on this. The trail that I have, whenever I'm wearing this, I mean, people are really picking up the fragrance. I find that the projection is also fantastic. I was recently with my son. We were probably about a meter and a half apart, and he instantly said, the fragrance that you're wearing today is spectacular. Because it's definitely rose, but there are other facets to it. I find that the longevity on this fragrance is also phenomenal. I'm getting a comfortable 8 hours. And when I say comfortable, I am picking up all the facets of the rose, the honey components, the woodiness to it. I find that after the 8 hours into the next day, or wake up in the morning, I am still getting the rose component to the fragrance now. It's still on my body. Now, here's the part that is phenomenal. The rose that he uses for this fragrance here comes from his own farm. He actually decided that he wanted to farm his own rose, and he even went one step further, and that is that the farm is actually organic. Look, not that I'm cynical, but I look at the marketing component to these kind of taglines. So to have, and everywhere you read, Radical Rose is grown on Aurelien's organic rose farm, the organic rose farm that Aurelien has for Matiere Premiere. So that organic is definitely placed, significantly to I guess signal something. And I thought to myself, do I really, I'm being objective here. Does it really matter that this, that this fragrance has an organic rose in it? Normally I associate organic to food, something that I'm consuming internally. So yes, I'm putting it on my skin, so it's still having contact with me, but does that organic component really carry the same weight as organic food does in my life? The word organic is a favorable one. I do like the thought that something is organic. It's about the soil and it's about the care for the land. And it was in that, as I started to sort of extrapolate that out a bit more, I thought it's about connecting. So here is Aurelien connecting with something that he is passionate about. And it's more than just obtaining a raw ingredient to create something. It's now cultivating. And now it's not only cultivating, but cultivating in a way that is agriculturally sound for the land. And now it's cultivating something that puts love and energy. It's about passion. It's more so, look, I've always said that I do love seeing the perfumer who is the owner of the brand or the house, because that perfumer knows that whatever they're creating, it's their soul that they're putting on the table for us to now experience. And so now here is Aurelien not only creating just a phenomenal, beautiful rose fragrance, but he has been involved in the process from its very beginning, from walking through that field and smelling that rose and the tactileness of touching that rose, that which eventually will come into here. I don't know. I'm a sucker. I am a sucker. So I am suspicious of marketing, but all of a sudden when I start to break down certain elements, stuff like that, I'm hook, line, and sinker. Shut up and take my money. As I said, I do love Matiere Premiere. I have been in love with his brand, with Aurelien's brand, for quite some time now. I've partnered with Libertine Parfumerie and have created alongside Michael Marzano, who is just an extraordinary perfume expert. Now, we've created a series of masterclasses together on some really beautiful brands. And one of those brands is Matiere Premiere, where we've explored the vast collection that he has. These masterclasses will go live at the end of this month, so you can buy a seat, you'll receive the samples, but the advantage is that you can now view this class at your own leisure. I'll make further announcements once this goes live off the Libertine Parfumerie website. Thanks everyone, hope you enjoyed that. We'll see you guys all on the next episode.